What did ancient humans do on a rainy day? 100,000 years ago, a storm rolled in over Africa. A group of early humans ducked into a cave and waited. No phone, no book, no way to know when it would stop. Just people, silence, and time with nothing to fill it. What happened next is something no researcher expected to find. Rain was not just inconvenient for ancient humans. It was dangerous. A wet body loses heat 25 times faster than a dry one. Ancient humans had no waterproof clothing, no insulated walls, no way to quickly get warm again. A heavy storm was not a minor disruption. It was a survival threat that could kill within hours. Children and elderly members of the group were the most vulnerable. So the moment rain started, the group moved fast. Not to a house, not to a building, to the nearest cave mouth, the nearest overhanging rock, anywhere that kept the body dry and the group together. And once they were inside, once they were safe, something unexpected happened. They had nothing to do, and that nothing changed everything. Anthropologist Kim Sterelny spent years studying how early humans developed complex thinking. His conclusion surprised the scientific community. He argued that forced downtime, the kind that came from storms, from darkness, from injury, was one of the most powerful drivers of human creativity in history. Because when ancient humans could not hunt, could not forage, could not move camp, their minds did not go quiet. They went somewhere else entirely. The first thing they did was make things. Not because someone asked them to, not because there was a plan, but because a mind with nothing to do and hands with nothing to hold will find something. The oldest known art objects in human history were not made during productive sunny days. Archaeological evidence consistently shows that decorated objects, carved tools, and personal ornaments appear most frequently inside cave sites and sheltered locations, places where people gathered when they could not be outside. In 2008, researchers excavating Blombos Cave in South Africa found shell beads 75,000 years old. Each one had a hole carefully drilled through it. Each one was coated in red ochre, strung together as jewelry. Drilling through a shell with a stone tool takes hours. You do not do that when there is a hunt to prepare for. You do not do that when the camp needs to move. You do that when the rain is coming down outside and there is nowhere else to be. Those beads did not come from ambition. They came from an afternoon with nothing else to do inside a cave while a storm passed over Africa. The second thing they did was teach each other. This one is less obvious, but it may be the most important thing that happened in those sheltered hours. Evolutionary anthropologist David Geary studied how complex skills were transmitted in ancient human groups. His finding was clear. Teaching detailed skills requires uninterrupted time. You cannot show someone how to shape a stone tool correctly while both of you are walking. You cannot demonstrate how to read animal tracks in the middle of a hunt. But in a cave with rain outside and hours ahead of you, you can teach everything you know. An older hunter showing a younger one how to hold the stone. A woman demonstrating which plants were safe and which were not. Children watching and asking questions and trying with their own hands. Rainy days were the first classrooms in human history. And everything learned in those hours survived because it was passed down, one generation to the next, inside shelters while storms passed outside. The third thing they did was tell stories. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner spent years living among the Juhoansi people of southern Africa, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer populations on Earth. She documented what they talked about at different times of day. Her findings, published in 2014, were striking. During the day, conversations were mostly practical. Food, tools, where to go, what needed to be done. But during periods of forced rest, during bad weather, during long nights inside shelters, everything shifted. Around 80% of conversation became stories. Not practical information. Stories about people. About the past. About things that had happened and why. About how the world worked and what it meant. These were not entertainment. They were technology. Stories were how ancient humans stored everything that could not fit into a practical daytime conversation. Moral lessons. Social rules. Historical memory. Warnings about what happened to people who broke the rules of the group. Explanations for the world that nobody fully understood yet. Everything a group needed to survive together, not just physically but socially, was encoded in stories. And those stories were told during exactly the kind of forced stillness that a rainy day inside a cave created. The storm outside did not just stop the hunt. It started something that would eventually become mythology, religion, and literature. The fourth thing they did was heal. Ancient human life was physically brutal. Every single day brought cuts, bruises, strains, and exhaustion that never fully resolved because the next morning always brought something else that needed doing. A rainy day was often the only time an injured person could actually stop, could rest a bad foot, could let a wound close properly, could sleep past sunrise without the group needing to move. Researchers studying skeletal remains from ancient populations find consistent evidence of injuries that required weeks of limited movement to heal. Not dramatic injuries that killed quickly, the kind that needed time. Those recoveries happened somewhere. In shelters, during long periods of bad weather when the group was finally still. For the person with the infected hand or the twisted ankle, rain was not an inconvenience. It was the difference between recovering and never walking properly again. The fifth thing they did was think. Not dramatically, not with any clear goal. Just the quiet, directionless thinking that happens when a mind has space and nothing urgent to fill it. Psychology researcher Sandy Mann found that the human brain in a state of enforced rest becomes intensely generative. It replays recent events looking for patterns. It tests solutions to problems. It runs through scenarios that have not happened yet, preparing for decisions before they need to be made. An ancient hunter sitting in a cave watching rain was not wasting time. His brain was processing the last failed hunt, imagining different approaches, thinking through the terrain ahead, rehearsing choices he might face tomorrow. He looked like he was doing nothing. He was doing some of the most important work a human brain can do. So here is what actually happened when rain came down over Africa 100,000 years ago, and a group of early humans ducked into a cave and waited. They made art when their hands needed something. They taught skills there was never enough time to teach on a normal day. They told stories that carried the knowledge and memory of the group forward through generations. They healed injuries that the demands of daily life never allowed to close. And they thought, quietly and deeply, about everything they had seen and everything that was coming. They did, in those hours, everything that actually made them more than just surviving animals. Not the physical tasks, the human ones. The next time it rains and your plans fall apart, your instinct is to fill the silence immediately, to reach for something, to make the stillness go away. But 100,000 years ago, a group of people sat in a cave while a storm passed over Africa with nothing in their hands and nowhere to be. And in those hours, they made the oldest jewelry ever found. They passed down knowledge that kept the next generation alive. They told the first stories that would eventually become everything we call culture. The rain did not stop them. The rain made them.